subscribe, click on the like button. Let's get this conversation rolling. My beautiful Nigerians, a lot is happening. I don't know where to start from, but let me just start off from this very interesting scenario. I'm going to start from something that is quite funny. Some people may consider it gossip. A very dark man and Mr. Jollof were seen in a viral video fighting each other over something that may have occurred in the past. So I think Mr. Jollof had accused very dark man of some time of saying if he sees he says if he sees very dark man, he's going to slap him or something. So on a particular plane today, in the presence of a lot of Nigerians, which obviously we have been advocating lately that there should be decorum, all right, in majority of our institutions. You know what happened to a lady Comfort in one of the Ibom airlines. Now, it's actually not allowed for you to fight on a plane or even have any altercation. You're not supposed to even have your phones. Everything is ought to be switched off. So what happened? Apparently, very dark man kind of confronted this Mr. Jollof when he saw him, said, I will slap you or something. And then the next thing, the other guy, when he went to meet the other guy, there was a slap thrown. I think Mr. Jollof threw the slap, and very dark man kept him on a chokehold, like when somebody chokes somebody. So he did not only just do that. After choking him, very soon, very dark man showed us where Mr. Jollof beat him on the breast. Okay, so that's the comedy for this week. They say that if you want to know a dramatic week, it starts on a Monday, but that tells you the deterioration of this and the lack of respect for vital institutions. People behave anyhow that they want. Ideally, that kind of thing happens on a plane. Both of them are meant to be called in, questioned, and sanctioned, because that same thing happened with Palm One. The other one was with Comfort. So the anyhowness in this part of the world is what is quite worrisome, and something needs to be done about it, where institutions are not respected, people are not respected. So people think that if the elite can behave anyhow they want and go scot-free, then they have no reason to obey the institutions. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Or where, when it comes to the law, the justice system would give an order, but because you're a political elite and you think you have some immunity or you have some connection, you wouldn't obey it. But as a common man who doesn't have any of those privileges, you're on your own. Nobody's going to help your life. Nobody's going to sort you out. So this is the endemic, will I say, deterioration of the validity of our institutions in this part of the world, where nothing happens when you do something wrong. Nothing happens. Nobody pays attention to all these rules and regulations. People behave anyhow they want. People don't care. People feel that nothing will happen. If you have your money, if you have your way, then you can do whatever you want to do. And it's absolutely wrong. It calls for a proper questioning of our system, of the appropriation of hierarchy and authority. And if people continue to behave like this in this part of the world, I don't think the new Nigeria we're looking for will definitely come to pass. So, what is the conversation for the day? Bandits, I will call them terrorists because they're not bandits. They raided a secondary school in Kebbi. They killed the vice principal, kidnapped several students. And there was panic in the community when it happened. They attacked Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School, Maga, in Danko, Wasagu local government area. They killed the vice principal and abducted several students. The late night assault left the vice principal, Malam Hassan Yakubu Makuku, dead after he reportedly attempted to shoot students from the attackers. The number of students kidnapped remains unclear as of this time, but authorities are yet to provide official details. And this was by a resident who recently disclosed the incident to us very lately. What is very worrisome about this development actually is the fact that there is a continuous display of brigandage. Ever since President Donald Trump actually placed Nigeria as a country of particular concern, these individuals of mayhem do not care. They have continued to perpetrate their madness in every front. It's so bad so much that people don't even understand how terrible things have become. It's a system they have decided to continue with. So to prove something, to prove that they're untouchable and nobody can do anything, there's a rise in how these treacherous activities have continued, activities of mayhem. And it's so bad because videos of past events of how these terrorists kill people have begun to surface online. A lot of videos that happened way back in time when this ISWAP and Boko Haram were very brutal. They kill human beings like chickens, like animals. It's all over X. The terrible stance of these individuals, and in the process, they're calling Allahu Akbar. I have always said it that I don't want to believe that a religion as Islam preaches this kind of heinous activity. These are demons in human bodies invoking this narrative. Because I see how Islam is practiced in the Southwest, that is in Lagos, all right? It's not like this. They accommodate, they harmonize, they celebrate all their activities, they don't force anybody. Well, it depends on the family. Some families do force their people to join them. But at some point, when you become an adult, you can choose to either be a Christian or be a Muslim. It's easy for you to convert from one faith to another. It's not like someone will decide to kill you or denounce you as being a member of the family or a child of their home. So the situation has gotten really bad. The killings, the kidnappings are on the rise. And this is the season where a lot of people want to come home. Now, because of these kidnappings and insecurity, it has actually dissuaded a lot of investors from coming to invest. There is an economic imbalance. You realize that it's only some certain states that are enjoying privileges of investment opportunities from their foreign counterparts. And these are the states that are considered to be safe, which is possibly some of the southwestern states. If you look at what is going on, the North Central, the North itself, most people don't like to go there because of what is happening with insecurity. And it's a dangerous trend that is set up with the narrative that is flying about that there are thoughts that there's restructuring, there's a plan to bring back a system of government where you realize that nobody would have to look at the central anymore. Each region would have to identify with their region and sort themselves out. If that kind of thing happens, what then happens to other regions that have not been developing all this well because of the social vices that have been occurring in those areas? People have been displaced, communities have been relinked to some elements, because I don't want to generalize and call them that all the people doing all of this are Fulanese. So some communities have been renamed by these individuals. They've taken people's lands, taken people's homes. It seems like there's a plan being put together strategically to annihilate a certain set of persons, occupy their land, and if at all whatever plan it is they have. Well, I don't want to put it that way, but that's basically how it seems. And that's a conversation that's been had that is like there is a deliberation somewhere by some certain elites to plunder this nation to the point that Nigeria is no longer recognized as a multicultural or multi-religious state as a nation. It may now be known as one nation practicing one religion, like you have in Turkey, Afghanistan, and other nations that used to be a hybrid of other religions being practiced there. And this is a dangerous trend that is happening. So the question is, when Trump gave the threat he gave, one would have expected that the next line of action would be for the administration to harmonize, have a conversation. You have changed your security chiefs, no doubt, no problem. So what's the next line of action? The next line of action would be to do what? The next line of action would be to begin to assert the authority, that is, assert your security in those hotspot areas. Kwara State, 2 persons killed and several kidnapped. Now, this is also happening in Kebbi State. It almost feels like the ultimatum given by Trump decided to wake up these guys from wherever they were sleeping, and they have decided to be brazen during the government of the day that there is nothing they can do about it. I need us to be aware that what is currently happening is no longer funny. It's been happening over time. But why is there silence at the quarters that is supposed to take decisive action in handling this? Okay, let me give you an instance. Trump made a statement that he made. Then you had presidential aides traveling out of the country, visiting other media houses, and claiming that it is IPOB. In fact, the latest one is that it is Pete Olby, his visit to the US. He's the one that actually gave this kind of narrative that made Trump actually designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. There's a lot of gaslighting, there's a lot of manipulation, there's a lot of propaganda to cover the fact that there is insecurity in this country, and it is bad. It's affecting Nigeria's image, it's affecting our economy. It's distracting the focus of the nation. Let me even tell you how bad it has gotten, okay? It's so bad that the data boys or the supporters of the government, rather than calling out the government and saying, President, we know that this is tough for you, but we will back you up. Whatever you need to do to rout out these guys, you need to do it. They have been misappropriating blames, refusing to focus on what the issue is. Now, there's deliberate hate propaganda against an ethnic group. I saw a video that circulated online of a primate, a pastor or something, who calls himself Primate Ayodele. Now, if you look at the literal meaning of the word primate, it's kind of derogatory. But I think if you understand what it entails in the church, it's like a leader of a province. That's what they refer to them as. This man went to his pulpit and said that a particular ethnic group are the curse of Nigeria, that they are cursed, that they're a problem of Nigeria, that another ethnic group is better, that's a Hausas are better than this ethnic group that he called. You really designated an entire tribe as a problem of the nation, putting behind the insecurity bedeviling the nation, people slaughtering human beings like chickens, killing human beings every day like they don't matter, spilling blood on the land like it's not human blood, committing sacrilege in several fronts. But you did not talk about that. You deliberately put that aside. Called a particular ethnic group that have literally been suffering. They've been bearing the brunt of hate and discord. It's literally like if it was possible for some certain persons in this government, because of hate and bigotry, to designate that particular ethnic group to be outcast, they would have done so. Now, this is a time that everyone is meant to unite and write out the elements of darkness and call out the leaders and say, please, we need to do something better. We're not handling this thing right. We need to be fast in making sure that the enemies trying to disintegrate this nation, trying to polarize this nation, do not continue and we don't give them that leverage. But guess what? Go on social media where everyone has an opportunity to express themselves. You won't believe the kind of narrative that is flying out there. People are calling for the dissolution, disintegration of different ethnic groups. Names are flying all about. There is now Islamophobia all over the place. There is ethnic intolerance. There's religious intolerance. There is also ethnic raging. Personalities are just I really cannot explain what it is, but we are at a very delicate threshold that if something is not done now, specifically from the presidency, I don't want to predict what will happen in the next few years with this administration. Also, their silence feels like this whole thing is permissible from the government of the day. I mean, you have seen a presidential spokesperson get involved in ethnic baiting and personality baiting, ethnic slurring, and all whatnot. So, what would you expect those who are literally just monitoring these guys and following their footsteps to do? They will basically continue in that manner. You literally are asking for a genocide. You're romancing it. And I must say, Nigerians, that you have to be careful. I would also say and implore that the ethnic group that is at the receiving end of this should be watchful. You have to be very careful. Extremely careful. You may think all of this just ends on social media. There are some ignorant people who have refused to realize that these persons are paid for the kind of expletives of hatred and violence that they're spilling on social media. Some people just randomly come, read it, and begin to absorb that kind of toxicity. You can never tell what they do after they're off social media, what they do in the streets. You don't even know how bad it has gotten. They're being preached about evil in their homes, in their schools, in their churches. That's how the indoctrination is happening. It's been happening over time, but it wasn't this public. It wasn't this, celebrated. Now, it's done publicly, it's celebrated. Very few are condemning it, and a lot of persons are actually absorbing and praising the trend. Like I said, it's dangerous. Now, let's look at what is going on with the PDP faction. So, a faction of the People's Democratic Party, loyal to the SCT Minister Nyesom Wike, and led by the National Chairman Mohammed Abdurrahman, they have fixed Tuesday, which is tomorrow, November 18th, to hold its Board of Trustees and National Executive Council meeting. So let me explain to you what this is. On Saturday, The PDP supposedly held its convention. Yeson Wike, Ayofashe, and a couple of others were expelled from the party. Now, the convention was held in Ibadan. Obviously, Yerima is a member of the People's Democratic Party, and there are talks that he also has an aspiration to be part of the presidential slot in 2027. He wants to be chosen as one who would run under the platform of the PDP. Now, guess what? This faction, which will be led by Wike, will be held at the Wadata Plaza, the original house of the People's Democratic Party. So it's obvious that the last time that the People's Democratic Party wanted to meet Wike and his people pursued them away. They had to hold a convention at Ibadan, and several presidents weren't present. The original house of the People's Democratic Party is where the faction of Wike will be holding their own board of trustees meeting. Now, according to Sani, a member of the PDP, what he told us was that Wike actually asked them that they should not field any candidate for 2027. That's what he's claiming. Let's take a listen to this video. I found it to be quite what's the word that you use for issues like this? It's dramatic, actually. So on Arise Television, he appeared today. Let's listen to this.
Family affair. We will solve the problem. Now it's no longer a family affair. And it was Chief Olabode George himself who read the motion calling for their expulsion. Those two issues. Well, let me start with the first one, Dr. Abati. We were at the stadium and the master of ceremony brought some people, displayed them, and said, these are INEC officials. Immediately, I tweeted that the INEC officials are here. Moments later, Senator Bala Mohammed, the governor of Bauchi State, came on stage and collected the microphone and said, no, these are not INEC observers. These are national election observers. So, in order not to be caught in the web, for people to begin to see whether I lied, So I quickly now issued out the statement to say that Bala corrected it. This is what he said. Now, it is to send out the correct information out there so that I will not be accused of complicity in issuing my statements on X. So, and secondly, the issue of whether INEC presence or absence, will put to question the convention. It's not correct. The Electoral Act is very clear. It says INEC may attend. And in the convention that brought in Abure, INEC did not attend. They did not attend. And they said they were not going to recognize Abure. He went to court, got an order, and INEC said, in obedience to that order, we are recognizing him. And as I'm speaking to you now, up to now, the name of Abure is on the portal of INEC as the duly recognized chairman of Labour Party. Now, these are to put the perspectives for people to understand that the coming of INEC will not validate or invalidate the convention. The statutory requirements for the convention, which was to give them 21-day notice, has been given. And we have gone ahead to hold our convention in compliance with statutory court orders. The last court order that was issued was on Friday, around 2:30 by Justice A.L. Akintola of the Oyo State High Court, who has a jurisdiction to entertain the matter and who has been entertaining the matter. And as a lawyer, the principle of last in. So it gives us that leverage to conduct our convention. Secondly, on the issue of Yeson Wike and the rest carrying the party on their shoulders, and that the actions we took was coming a little bit too late. I want to say that the actions we took, it is better late than never. And even when we were saying we were going to resolve this thing as a family, it became very clear that there was no way we could resolve it as a family, because the BOT, in their last resolve to settle the matter, set up the Ambassador Hassan Adamu committee for reconciliation, which had Mike Ogiadome as the secretary, to try to broker some peace and reconciliation within the two camps, because I don't want to call them faction. A faction has been described by the Electoral Act that a court must recognize one of the two as a faction before you can call it a faction. So it's just, an internal dispute within us. And I think Wike almost says so in his interview on national television, where he said it's a dispute among family members.
Okay, so let me break it down to that's a PDP chieftain as well in the recently concluded convention in Ibadan, where 11 members of the People's Democratic Party were expelled. So you know that Simfubara was also not there as well. So apparently he's saying that what he said is that Wike told the PDP that the only condition for peace to reign in the PDP is that the party would not field a presidential candidate in 2027. He's also claiming that Wike said if the condition is not met, then it will be a fight to the finish with the People's Democratic Party. Now, I'm not surprised. A couple of political analysts believe that this is the plan for Wike. Disintegrate the People's Democratic Party, make it adulterated, make it to possibly dissolve it in such a way that the party is not considered as a major threat in terms of opposition. And when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or if he wins 2027, which obviously will give him the power he has delivered, being the FCT minister, and he has dissolved the People's Democratic Party or rendered them useless, then also he would deliver the FCT, which was a part of the situation that adulterated the win as declared by INEC that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu won the elections in 2023. So Nyesom Wike's job is to deliver the FCT and adulterate the PDP, make sure that it is not considered as a potential threat. Then by 2027, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wins the general elections, then he can now start putting the People's Democratic Party back together. So he puts it back, he's the one who has the money, obviously. Most of them, a couple of them have now defected. I'm sure you heard on Sahara Reporters, we read that 250 billion naira were given to these governors to defect. Some amount of money also given to the senators and the House of Rep members. So even as we're speaking right now, Governor Kefas had defected to the APC, and a couple of his cabinet members as well have defected to the All Progressives Congress. So the plan is that by 2027, if Tinubu wins and Wike has done his own part, he is going to be considered for VP slot in 2031. In 2031, it will be the time for a northern president to be considered. So a southern vice president will obviously be chosen, and he is touting himself to be the southern person to be the vice president. So I want you guys to understand something. Again, this is not me. A couple of political analysts believe that that's what the case is. So once he makes sure that the PDP is not a considered challenge, because in the 2023 elections, based on the result INEC announced, APC first, PDP second, and Labour Party third. Okay, so right now, the PDP that is here now, it cannot even be considered as a party to run any election whatsoever in 2027 at all. So if INEC was not present at the convention on Saturday, I don't know what that entails. Now, Nyesom Wike wants his faction to be recognized. He has created his own faction. If you recall, some of the governors refused to recognize the expulsion of Nyesom Wike and 11 others. 2 of the governors actually said they do not align with the decision of the Board of Trustees members at the just concluded convention in Ibadan, Oyo State. Obviously, if you had listened to Chief Olabode George, who was the one who made that announcement. So what happens now to the People's Democratic Party? Interesting. I'd like to know what your thoughts are in there. Meanwhile, apparently, I'm sure you know Officer AM Yerima. A couple of Nigerians call him the hero. A couple of Nigerians were hailing and praising him because of his response to Nyesom Wike when he says, I am not a fool. I am an officer of integrity, and all of the rebel talk and the exchange that was given at the time. Officer Yerima has been hailed in some quarters as the person that is actually the resistance the Nigerians need against the political elite. Now, despite the fact that there are different talks and interpretation as to what transpired that day and who was on the right, a lot of Nigerians don't want to look at the technicality or what the right and wrong is. They are just happy that Yerima stood up against Nyesom Wike. And that's not the only thing. So yesterday we had stories that he was being trailed, that there was an assassination attempt on him. What happened, according to what we heard, that while he was moving, a particular unmarked vehicle was trailing him. He had to like move very fast, or for him to discover that there are some certain persons in that particular vehicle trailing him that were unrecognizable. We saw a video today that surfaced where Officer Yerima in his plate number was hidden, covered, and some police officers stopped him for a search and asked him that they wanted to see his ID card and see his plate number because the plate number was undisclosed. You couldn't see that plate number, and that was where the imbroglio ensued. So we heard somebody at the background saying that Officer Yerima is rude. This is what he's used to doing. He doesn't like to obey order. He behaves anyhow. This is what Nigerians are celebrating. That he has a history of being rude or being dissenting just because he's in the military. In that particular video, he was wearing a mufti, a blue attire, not necessarily a uniform in that instance. You know, tall guy, fine boy, that kind of a thing. And he showed the police officer his ID card there because they were insisting that he would refuse to disclose his ID card. So he showed his ID card. But the thing is, as an officer who has been in a situation that a lot of persons are paying attention to, there have been several calls for AM Yerima to be sacked. Wouldn't you consider that it's for his security, that his plate number is closed, or he was riding in a car that was tinted. The glass of the vehicle was tinted. So at this point in time, with how the whole situation is still heated up in the polity and everyone is talking about it, wouldn't you consider he protect himself and not disclose that he's a person driving such an unmarked vehicle? He needs to be careful with disclosing his movement. He needs to move around. He's a young boy. He's not like in the top cadre of the military or naval echelon. But with what happened, everyone now knows him. He's very popular. His face is very popular. So he needs to be careful with how he moves. Would you blame him for keeping his movement discreet or trying to provide some sort of protection for himself? And when he was stopped, he actually stopped. He wound down his glass. He showed the police officer his ID card. But, you know, Yerima is in the face of everyone now. So anything he does that may be considered to be challenging what is an authority or standard procedure, they would say it's because he has some backers, some top military backers, and that's why he's behaving anyhow he wants, or he doesn't like to listen or obey any civilian authority. Well, you go say for Nigeria that we have a long way to go. But at this point in time, it is quite imperative that notice is taken very, very interestingly, and that the harmonization of the country should be what should be the call for everyone, because as it stands now, it is no longer funny. Meanwhile, the US House of Representatives has launched a probe into Christian genocide in Nigeria based on the recent killings that have resurged. So, and several calls that the US should please try and intervene in the insecurity situation bedeviling Nigeria. So right now, they have begun the probe. The United States House of Representatives Subcommittee on Africa, they will hold a public hearing on Thursday, November 20, 2025, to scrutinize President Donald Trump's decision to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern over alleged religious freedom violations. The session is being slated for 11 a.m., room 2172 of the Rayburn House Office Building, and streamed urgency. Make sure that all individuals are actually considered to be at the front. In other words, second panel will include prominent voices from religious and policy organizations, among them the Director of Center for Religious Freedom, Bishop Wilfred Anigwe of the Macaulay Catholic Diocese, and Mrs. Oge Onobu of the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Yes, that's basically what will be happening. Well, I would like to know what your thoughts are. Kindly subscribe to SIG Media on YouTube. We're actually done with this session. I'll continue to update you as events unfold. I'll keep on telling you events, it's the situation as a lot of developments are coming up in the scene, and in some instances during the live video, I'll be conducting a live interview with some political analysts who will be giving us their own purview of what they think on the happenings in the country. So do make sure that you continue to subscribe. Stay with STIC Media on YouTube, ESTRQ MEDIA. Bye for now.